Okay guys, welcome back to another Muscle Academy video. I realize it's been a couple of weeks since my last one, but it's just been a really busy time at this time of year, especially with the end of contest season occurring here in Australia. I've had a few people competing, and I've had to direct a lot of my attention towards them, and of course all my other clients. So I just haven't had the time to put into doing these videos. So had a little bit of time tonight, so I'm just doing one now. And this video is going to be about my current training. As you guys saw with my last video, I was doing a little bit of a transition block, so it was like a 3-week transition, and now I'm on to the next phase of training. So as you can see here, I'm doing a bench press. What I do each day is I do 3 main lifts. Those lifts right now are bench press, as you just saw. We've got the high bar squat here. Originally I had a front squat in there as well. We've just replaced that with a neutral grip pull-up, weighted pull-up. And what else have I got in there? I've got a seal row, they're usually in there too, and a seated dumbbell shoulder press. So you won't see all of those today, but I've got a few of them in there, and also a sumo deadlift. And just like usual, those are done at varying intensities each day, usually not training to failure, but each day will have a little bit of a different focus. I have a day where I do a lot of sets with only a couple of reps, and that's usually with a light weight. It's like a speed day. I have strength days. I have mostly hypertrophy days, of course, because that's my main goal as a bodybuilder. I've had a little bit of knee trouble recently. I ended up buying some Reband knee sleeves, which have been great, and it's settled down quite a bit anyway, but the knee sleeves are good to have. So obviously I'm not wearing them in this video, but I think I hadn't received them yet. That was why I wasn't wearing them. But they do provide a little bit of support for the knee joints, so I recommend them if you feel like you would like to get a little bit more longevity out of your knees. Maybe if you have knee trouble or something like that, they're a good idea. So what I'm doing for my secondary work here is some lateral raises with the kettlebells, and I do these at in the scapular plane. And in this case I'm using 20 kilo kettlebells. I kind of recently started using those because the 16s, which is the one weight down, was just feeling a little bit too easy, but then these ones are kind of like maybe a little bit too hard. Yeah, it doesn't have that sweet spot in between. I wish I had 18 kilo kettlebells, but we don't, so I just went with them. And after a few weeks I've actually gone back down to the 16s, and I think I'm just going to try to increase my reps on those, even though I'm already getting 15 reps with the 16s. I think I'll try to get up around the 20 rep mark at some point. So I'm also doing here is a machine chest press, and then on to, in a second here, the lat pull down, the single arm lat pull down. So as you can see, I'm not really following a typical body part split. Obviously I'm doing more of a high frequency split. In this case it's almost a full body split, so I'm not training my entire body each day, but I am training 70 or 80% of it, and then each day the secondary work and the main lifts are a little different. So over the whole week I end up covering my whole body numerous times, and this way of training is good. Like as you get to a more advanced level, I think that you need to start incorporating a lot more frequency into your training, because at some point it's just almost impossible to keep pushing the volume up. And I will do blocks where I will do a little bit lower frequency and higher volume. I don't necessarily always go, based on past experience, I don't go well with really high intensity for a long time, i.e. strength work. I can do some of it, but it tends to injure me if I do too much of it at one time. And anyway, so the frequency is just another way to, I suppose, build muscle, you know, like making the frequency really high. And it's, you know, it's always a little bit of a balancing act, volume, frequency, and intensity. And, you know, you've got to test things out and find out, I suppose, what works best for you, you know. In this case here, I'm doing some occluded hamstring work. And what I do is I typically do sets of 20. I do 3 sets of 20, and then I'll do 2 lots of that. So it's actually 6 sets of 20 in this case. Usually I use the lying curl, and also I do a lot on the seated curl. So 3 sets on the lying, 3 sets on the seated, with about 30 seconds rest in between. And at the moment, as you'll see later on in the video, the seated curl is broken. So I have just been doing all of the work on the lying curl. Anyhow, it's just another way of training your hamstrings, or training any muscle group really. It's something that is a little bit painful. It's not for everybody, but I wouldn't say that I enjoy it, but it's an effective way for me to add more volume to my hamstring work, particularly when I was training my hamstrings a lot more frequently than I am now. But in this block I'm training them a couple of times a week, and one of those days is an occluded hamstring day. So overall, you know, I'd say the training that I'm doing, the full body training is kind of very exhausting. It's like fatiguing. I really feel that I need to go home, and if I had time to have a nap, I would have a nap. I need to go home and eat before I can kind of feel a little bit more recovered. But yeah, at the end of my workout, I'm just kind of wiped out at the moment. Yeah, I found that as well with other high frequency splits. So I don't know if you guys have found that. Let me know in the comments if you have. Doing a full body split or doing an upper lower split, I've found it in the past that when I'm working multiple muscle groups all together, I just get fatigued. Whereas if I were working just my chest, or if I were working my back and my chest together, or something like that, I'm okay. You know, I don't feel really too fatigued at the end of my workout. Just a little bit, but nothing compared to you know, how fatigued I get when I'm doing my whole body, or nearly my whole body, in one day. So yeah, I'm interested to see if some of you guys might have experienced the same thing with your training. What I'm doing here is I'm just kind of trying to show you guys how much of a pump you get with the occlusion training. It's definitely a crazy pump because all the blood is trapped in there. But the mirror was a little too far away. So that's it, guys. Like and subscribe if you liked the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.